This is the most innovative Marvel game that has been released up to date, and I'm not even joking when I say that. Marvel Future Revolution has had the biggest promise, an enormous amount of potential, and could be the biggest Marvel game right now. I've played it for nearly all of its lifetime, and I have to say, it did actually feel like something special at times. In today's video, I want to dive deep and go exactly why this, as announced, revolutionary Marvel game failed so bad. We'll go through the entire history of updates and why, even after an enormous amount of effort and money from so many people, it still died in the end and now it's literally impossible to play. This video idea came in from multiple subscribers when I somehow forgot to insert this game into my last video. Shout out to all of them, and honestly, shame on me. Without any more delays, let's start. Marvel Future Revolution was an open world action RPG created by Netmarble, same company responsible for Marvel Future Fight. And if you're a Marvel game enthusiast, you probably have the idea. Marvel Future Fight is one of the most successful Marvel games ever made, having been live for, I believe, over 10 years now, sustaining a gigantic community full of players and YouTubers who support it, and finally little old me, who played this game for over 5 years of his life in a row and spent a lot of lunch money on it too back in the day. And as much shame as I feel now as an adult, unfortunately it was the truth, at least for a while. This game was the best Marvel mobile title for a long time, especially with their range of skins, game modes, character support. Sorry Marvel Contest of Champions, you know it's the truth. And with all that success, Netmarble felt pretty high on their horse, alright? They embarked on something truly unique in their eyes. They took a lot of money, reportedly somewhere between 50 and 100 million, but that's kind of speculation because we don't have the real numbers, and basically tried to make the next World of Warcraft, but this time have Marvel be the key figure in the scale of games. And I'm gonna start with the positives because this game had quite a few of them. First off, when you open the game for the first time, you're immediately treated to a little mini-game on Star-Lord's phone where you're basically playing like a Marvel-themed Flappy Bird. Now this lasts only 15 to 20 seconds, basically your game is just downloading in the background, but this immediately gives off vibes of a stronger budget, something akin to PC titles. Once download is done, you are greeted to a pretty lengthy introductory level. Basically the multiverse is colliding again, and all Earths are crashing into each other. In the intro level we get to play as every playable character, and each one of them has basic movement and attack, and then 6 to 7 unique skills on top of that, depending on who you play as. And for a mobile game, I've been playing this on tablet by the way, this did feel pretty impressive. By the end, Mr. Fantastic and Hank Pym figure out a solution and end up merging various worlds into one Earth. This results in basically a Battle Realm type world with different regions, something we will probably see in Avengers Secret Wars a couple years from now. Now there are some decent regions like Asgard Land for example, but then there's bad boy worlds like Hydra worlds where basically Hydra won the World War, and all of them now exist next to each other. But before we dive any deeper into the actual gameplay, we get to finally pick our main character. And even though the selection is not very big, choosing a character you like was pretty important because you will spend a lot of time playing as this character moving forward. We have Captain America, Cap Marvel, Spider-Man, Star-Lord, Storm, Doctor Strange, and finally Iron Man. You're essentially choosing your class in an RPG game, so you have to be smart about it. I always like tanks in video games, so I ended up choosing Spider-Man of course. Yeah. I didn't think about it that much at the time. Now from the get-go you get that action RPG plus superhero vibe immediately as you start playing. The game doesn't make you read a bunch of texts and you're pretty much put into action immediately. In the first level for Spider-Man we get to fight Green Goblin, when he suddenly gets infused with Carnage as we start defeating him and becomes Red Goblin. A neat little detail I appreciated immediately because I think at the time I just read that run. And once defeated we meet another version of Spider-Man living in a high-tech neighborhood nearby. He basically explains the state of the world to us now and walks us to a nearby safe house. We get placed into a local world hub and we immediately see an abundance of other players, all going through the tutorial like us. Here is also where Rocket comes in. He acts as a daily rewards provider. Basically he gives you treats if you log into the game every day. And from here on out, we begin our character journey. Let's talk in general details how you would actually play this game at the time. The game is divided into open zone worlds like New Stark City, X Gardens, Sakaar Jungle, all of them themed behind special teams or characters. All of them are vast, free roam spaces, where a bunch of players do their missions. Each zone has 3 types of missions primarily. Main storyline missions, which is something we'll dive into in just a moment. Then side missions, very boring content that has you do basic tasks like fetch and grab most of the time. I don't think I ever played those, they're just not good. And then we have events. Those are large-scale dynamic world bosses that pop up on the side of the screen, and most players will immediately go there and try to defeat a giant boss to get some nice loot. It's pretty regular RPG stuff, and quite honestly most of it always bored me a lot. But let's dive into the actual interesting part of the game. Once again, it has story campaign, and this is where the game truly stands out in my opinion. The story is divided into 6 chapters on launch. It's cinematic, there are full voiceovers, transitions, character moments. It's very structured, but not overwhelming. And one of the first villain arcs in the game is fighting Kingpin, and out of nowhere, we have Punisher join us and help us through the entire journey, which was a welcoming surprise. Unfortunately though, Frank himself is not playable in this game, and I can't lie, after seeing this, I immediately felt like I'd rather play this segment as Punisher, not Spider-Man. And even though once again the Punisher is fully involved here, he's mainly a cutscene prop that does not add anything, and you have to do all the work yourself. As we progress to the next region of Hydra taking over America, we also get to see Daredevil, who joins us and acts as another cool cutscene prop. And then later on, even Moon Knight, who is here with all of his personalities divided this time, surprisingly. The variety of different characters participating in the plot was always a big standout for me, and something I could never really quite get over because it almost felt like a dream game at times. By the end, Kingpin and Ultron joined into one being, and all of my favorites were fighting to stop him. This was so goddamn good. I only wish we could, control all of them, switch characters from time to time. Ugh, come on. After the main villain is defeated, we basically finish our first real plot arc and move on to somewhere else. The main plot honestly takes us in quite a few places, including once again Hydra Empire, Xander Earth, Sakaar, Midgardia, and there are a lot of bosses like Thanos, Loki, Yellow Jacket, MODOK. And I mean, look, for a mobile experience, this was pretty freaking badass at the time, okay? The developers wanted you to feel like you're experiencing something truly revolutionary on mobile. The budget was high, the production value was high, the cutscenes looked great, and honestly, hence the title. This is why they call this game Marvel Future Revolution. I myself speedran the campaign in just a few days, with the final arc taking place in Dark Dimension, where we had to defeat the Dormammu together with Scarlet Witch, and it was very enjoyable. But however cool and grand everything felt, unfortunately after the main campaign is done, all of the cool cutscenes and seemingly interesting plot is finished, once you went through that novelty factor and got comfortable and high level with your character of choice, the negatives start coming in like crazy. And this is what I want to dedicate the rest of the video to. Let's talk about the game updates, how it lived in post-launch, and where the game started inevitably falling off. First off, one of the biggest issues was the weight of all that graphical ambition, because it came at a significant cost and performance. Mobile hardware varies widely, as we all know, and even on high-end devices the game was a battery hog, prone to thermal throttling and resource strain. A lot of players who were hyped by the visuals found themselves battling annoying performance issues. There were a lot of load freezes, frame rate dips, and overheating. And all of that because the engine itself was trying to do console-style gameplay on a hardware that simply wasn't designed for it unless you had a very powerful tablet. Mind you, this was 2021, like 5 years ago. Now remember how we talked about awesome story and gameplay? Well, the game rewarded you for doing all of that with constant flood of resources and gear. And at first glance, it was an interesting concept because the gear not only makes your character stronger, it also changes the way you look. So you could combine different pieces and make yourself a truly unique Spider-Man or Iron Man in concept. But in reality, at least in my experience, unless the gear pieces were from the same set, it always looked a little goofy. I always ended up equipping gear that just looked like normal costumes from comics because, I don't know, Spider-Man with a pink head and green shoes is just weird. Beyond performance and gear, the game also really struggled to maintain its momentum with its endgame. Early content, the main campaign and open world missions, felt fresh and exciting. But once again, as soon as the players finished the story arcs and hit higher levels, the true content thinned out. They promised evergreen live service loop with frequent events, new heroes, and new zones, but none of this ever fully materialized as many players expected, and in the end, all you could really do is grind the same couple of bosses with other players, hoping for a better gear drop unless you were ready to pay, of course. Now, new updates started strong at first. In the first month after launch, to my surprise, we got Magik. She was the first playable character added in December 2021, and looking at it now, I think they were a bit ahead of their time, huh? A few months later in spring 2022, Scarlet Witch arrived, bringing what it seemed like more roster depth. And by September 2022, Wolverine has joined the team too. But quite honestly, this was a year after the game's release and we've only had 3 new characters. It seemed a little slow, at least for me. But that wasn't even the biggest gripe with the new characters. Because me, just like many other players, realized as this was happening was the simple fact that now, if you do want to play as them, you have to start from the very beginning. You have to play through the entire campaign, from start to finish, grind all of your gear again. And ultimately, you're just starting a completely new game, but with the story arcs you already know. And yes, I know it's a standard thing in RPG genre. You have to replay all the TDM campaign to get a new character to a proper level. But I always really disliked that system and felt there should be a better way to switch up a character without the annoying start from the beginning system. On top of everything I went over, I'm sure you also realize that a mobile game will always stay a mobile game. Despite being somewhat different on gameplay side, there was a bazillion number of different resources, currencies, events, side stuff that was very boring to go through, and a lot of different pop-ups that cost $5.99 or $10.99 to give a boost to your character level would pop up. And all of that, even though standard for mobile, just did not feel like it fits this game. And after looking at everything in hindsight now, it's clear why this game actually failed. At its core, Marvel Future Revolution is dead now because its ambition quite seriously outpaced its ability to actually sustain itself. The game struggled with identity and monetization. It wanted to be a premium, console-like action RPG, but it was built on a mobile, free-to-play economics. The tension showed everywhere. Autoplay systems clashed with skill-based combat. Progression felt increasingly grindy for non-spenders. Long-term goals for your characters became more about numbers than an actual fun, and the game had no proper long-term roadmap. As updates slowed and communication shifted towards reduced servers, players could feel the momentum dying long before the shutdown was announced. The game released in August 2021, and just 2 years later, in August 2023, the servers were officially shut down. And this was mainly because Netmarble needed too much money to keep an ambitious game like this alive, and they offered too little once the actual main story campaign was over. If you ever had a chance to play this in like 2 years of its lifespan like me, you probably enjoyed a neat little story where you went on adventures with some of your favorite characters, and for a few days, you probably even had fun. But once that was over, you looked at that enormous mess of gear, pay-to-win offers, non-stop currency, different vendors, and just like me, you stood up and quietly left, and the game itself left with you shortly after. If you like this kind of content, consider subscribing and liking the video. Leave a comment if you have any other game suggestions, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.